not enough growth. Initially, what you can do is deliver on some promises without the growth. But when you deliver on promises without the growth, what does that do? Especially if you finance it by printing money. Economics 101, causes inflation. So the first phenomenon of this slow growth was in the 70s, when you had high levels of inflation. Governments tried to finance their spending by printing money. Didn't work. Inflation levels were above double digits, higher than we have had experienced in India over the last few years. And so they needed to fix that. We had the great Volcker disinflation, we had disinflation in other parts of the world subsequently. But if you can't inflate your way, and you still need to spend, what do? You issue debt. And what happened was debt levels started picking up in industrial countries. At some point, even that became difficult. How much debt can you accumulate? And so once you go from inflation to more debt, public debt, you suddenly see the virtue of tightening on the public debt, not spending so much, but then you encourage private debt. You encourage people to borrow and spend. You encourage housing loans. And so we had the third phase, which was an explosion of private lending, private leverage, just before the financial crisis. And that also proved too much. In the US, it was private debt which was the problem. In Europe, it was public debt, especially in the periphery, which proved the problem. So this phenomenon of trying to increase growth more than the potential of the economy eventually came a cropper in the West with the great financial crisis. But of course, post-financial crisis, the imperative for growth is still there, except now there's a whole lot of debt also on top of these countries. Public debt has increased tremendously, private debt has also increased, and so there is still the need to try and stimulate your way out of growth. As an aside, if it was an emerging market which was in trouble during the great financial crisis, the recommendations of the international organizations would be, do the structural reforms, get your act straight, create the underlying growth that you need. Don't pretend you can spend your way out of trouble.